I'm not sure. It might be the Bell, but I don't even remember the names of the bridges. Is that the Ohio River?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the Ohio River?
I don't know how far I could go today with my lack of knowledge.
Gosh. Hello, and welcome everyone to episode 69 of the Mashup, the best bourbon conversation you're going to hear all week long. We're your hosts, Michael, Anthony, and Steven. Hello, Anthony.
Oh, man. Well, it's nice to be here with you tonight. I know Michael's still not here with us, but, I did see Michael last week. Have you seen him recently?
I have.
Nice. Yeah, we still have our group text, and our sons were in tennis camp together. And so I got a chance to talk to him at the beginning of those days, and it was nice to see him. And for our listeners out there, we're anxiously awaiting when he comes back. Because he's still got a lot going on, family, travel. We all got a lot going on, vacation stuff, and things like that. So we just wanted to give a little update on Michael, give him a quick shout, let you guys know he's doing fantastic.
Yeah, I'm sure we've had some new listeners that have no idea that there's a third person.
I know. That's what I was thinking. I mean, it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a long while. And and so, yes, there is another person.
There is. He's alive and well.
Yeah. So that's why we keep saying his name.
Yeah. I mean, I can't wait till that first message comes through and somebody's like, so who is this Michael person that I've never heard of before?
Right.
Like, yeah, he exists. So all good. But
so what have you been up to?
What have I been up to?
Yeah.
Well, I noticed that we didn't put out an episode last week, and that's because I've been vacationing.
Yes, you have.
I know that you have as well, but that's why it's hard to get together. I never thought the summer was going to get as complicated as it was. So,
No.
But yeah, we took our annual family vacation down to the southernmost part of North Carolina, a little area called Sunset Beach, and it's about 30 miles north of Myrtle area. And so, 30 miles, 30 minutes, not 30 miles, just like it's like a stone's throw away from Myrtle Beach. And so go down there every year with family, and it's a lot of fun. Go there with my brothers and sister-in-law's parents, all my nieces and nephews, and it's we get a big beach house and just have a good old time for a week.
So what was the highlight?
So the highlight was everybody really enjoyed fishing this year. That was really cool, and so this is kind
just
of
dock fishing.
Well, dock fishing was fun, but I have to tell the story because it's kind of crazy. If you guys remember, anybody that follows us on Instagram, I had posted a picture of a delicious catch. Some flounder, actually. So
yes.
Here's the weird thing. If you're in North Carolina and you catch flounder, you can't keep it because it's out of season. But if you take a boat charter over to South Carolina and catch the flounder, you can keep it.
Oh.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. And so we were able to catch some flounder. The craziest thing is I have no gift for fishing, right? My brother's the fisherman of the family. And I'm over there on the dock and I cast this little, I don't know what it is, like a rubber shrimp looking thing out. And I'm not expecting to catch anything. All of a sudden, I'm like, the show with Jeremy Wade, River Monsters, where he's like, fish on. You know what I'm talking about?
And that was you?
That was me. So I'm like, fish on. I start reeling, and I pull this massive flounder up, but I can't keep it. So I had to take it and throw it back, which drove me nuts. But then the kids were fishing off the dock, catching pinfish and other kind of small, dock dwelling type of things. No sharks or anything like that, but it was a lot of fun.
You ever been deep sea fishing?
Unfortunately, last year was almost the site of a tragedy with deep sea fishing. So, but I haven't. Go ahead, tell me your experience because I've not been. Have you been?
I've been. I went to a wedding in the Bahamas area.
Okay.
Part of it's a destination wedding, so all the guys we all went out on a boat.
Okay.
And we went deep sea fishing. And they caught. I don't know exactly the fish, but it basically was a swordfish.
Okay.
And they pulled it up out of the water, by the nose.
Did it jump?
It was moving.
Oh.
And we also caught the ugliest fish, but delicious, the mahi.
Oh yeah, that's supposed to be really good eating, right?
Yeah. Of course, we threw it all back. They threw it all back, but
okay.
But reeling these things in is quite difficult and tiring.
Well, I'm glad you had the experience because, even people are gonna laugh at me now. Even catching a flounder, it doesn't take a lot to catch a flounder, but they put up a pretty good fight, a big one, yeah. So I can't imagine what it's like pulling them up out there. But last year, when we were on this same vacation, we were supposed to take a charter out to I don't know. I can't remember. It's like 50 miles off the coast, something like
That's
that.
out there.
It's pretty out there. It was pretty far out where we were supposed to go. It was starting to storm, and it was my dad. No, not my dad. It was my brother, me, my other brother, and my mom that were on the charter, and my one nephew. And so we're going out now, and the captain's like, "You guys sure you want to go out? Like, that storm's coming in." And my brother's like, "Yeah, we can go. We can go." We got out there, and it was like deadliest catch. This boat was like flying up in the air and zoom back down, and like I'm just like holding on to like everything. I could barely even sit. And
That
I was
must
like,
have been
"What?"
awful.
Yeah, I was like, "What in the world is this?" And my brother's like, "It's fine, it's fine." I'm like, "It is not fine." And so finally, like, we turned around and went back to shore. I've never been so happy in my life. We didn't get to fish at all though, because the storm was like coming in. It was terrible. But anyway, there was no deadliest catch or river monsters this year, even though it was the ocean. I mean, does that make any sense? But I did do a little bourbon hunting though. And what can I say? North Carolina is a state-controlled state. I spoke about that, I think, last year when I talked a little bit about vacation. So I'll make this really short and sweet. Not a whole lot going on in North Carolina when it comes to bourbon, especially not in this little sleepy beach town where I think there was, 3 or 4 ABC stores within about 10 to 12 miles of one another. The first one I went to, they had Eagle Rare on the shelf. Whoa.
That's
Eagle
an
Rare.
allocated product.
And I actually went and bought one because, anytime you see an Eagle Rare,
What was the price?
I'm going to buy it. It was about $38 after tax.
Okay.
So not too bad.
No.
I think that was around in there. But I remember thinking to myself, like, you can buy these for $50 on secondary. So by the time I count my gas money getting down and
No, it's
everything,
more than that.
I'm really not making anything. I'm not getting anything on that one. But we drank that bottle. It was fun. And then another one of the stores had Sazerac Rye.
Okay.
Which previously I've spoke about my love for Sazerac, but I have so many bottles, there wasn't a reason to buy it. But the funniest thing was when I was leaving, they said, "Is there anything we can help you with?" And I was like, well, I'm from Kentucky, I'm just checking out the bourbon, and you understand. They're like, yeah. They're like, "We did get this Garrison Brothers small batch, and this is kind of something we've never had before, like it's a special product."
Are
And
you
I
serious?
yeah. I just said, no disrespect to Garrison Brothers. I was just like, "No, that's all right. I'm cool." I was like, "Thank you. I appreciate it." But it was like they were so proud to have this Garrison Brothers.
Was that the Dickel collaboration? Or that was just their own thing?
No, you're thinking of Leopold Brothers.
Oh.
This was the Garrison Brothers bourbon from Texas. I
got you. Okay.
Has gotten
We're gonna cut that, but I got you.
some accolades and stuff. We never reviewed it, and to tell you the truth, I've never tasted it. But I wasn't about to buy a bottle in the middle of North Carolina just to taste it.
Yeah.
So I had some good laughs. But vacationing was awesome. Bourbon, not so much.
Well,
Yeah, the stuff I took was awesome,
Yeah.
but not the
that's to be expected, though.
Yeah.
So we had some shout outs this week.
We did.
Yes.
I think it was one more. Was it another 5-star review and an anonymous 5-star review and one that actually had a comment? Correct.
That is correct.
All right. So this was a comment from somebody named, is it Farron or F.A. Ron 1204? I don't know. I'm just. But the title of it was Every Man's Bourbon Talk Show. Hey, every man, we're men. We love that. That's great, right? So I feel like you guys can relate to anyone, and it's a joy to hear what you guys mention about what you try. Ever since I found you guys, I can't get enough. Love hearing what you have to say. I'm in the South Bend, Indiana area. Ooh, a little neighbor here. So I think I've got something for you guys should try. Let me know if you'd like to try. I can get some around and maybe do an episode with you guys. Wink, wink.
What do you think he has to try?
I don't know. That's what I'm wondering. And how I always jokingly say, "We're coming to see you." I think he's coming to see us.
Yeah, right.
No, that'd be cool. We never talked about collabs with fans or people that listen to our show, and that'd be great.
We'll call in.
I know, right? Not why not? Right?
Yeah.
I said rye not.
Rye not. It's Friday day,
must
right?
have rye on my mind.
Thank you. And if you would like a shout out, just leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. The next time we record, we will give you a shout out.
No doubt.
So, Anthony, this week on the mashup,
we
have a bottle, and it is a bottle of O.K.I. reserved blended bourbon whiskey.
Yeah, I was hoping you were going to have something good for me tonight. We don't know if it's any good. Yeah, here we go, right? So there is no distillery that I know of. We'll talk about OKI a little bit more in depth here as we get through this episode. But the brand was recently resurrected by two guys from Cincinnati, Jake Warm and Chad Brizendine. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but they brought the brand back to life. The bottle date is 2022. The ABV on this guy is 50. Proof is 100. This is non-age dated, but we do know based on the specs, which they're voluminous and many, we'll get to it in a second here, that this is the youngest whiskey in the bottle is 3 years old and the oldest is 10 years old. Now, here's where we get to the complicated part. This is an MGP monster. When I first saw this bottle, I referred to it as the kitchen sink, but it's a mash bill time, and I got a lot to get through here.
Sit down, everyone.
Sit down. Here you go. So we got a lot of reading to do here. So this is a blend of 5 different MGP mash bills, which includes 32.9% of this is the MGP 21% rye mash bill and 8 to 10 years old. So that's 75% corn, 21% rye, and 4% malted barley. The next piece of this is 26.2% of MGP's high rye mash bill, anywhere from 3 to 8 years old. That's 60% corn, 36% rye, and 4% malted barley. The next piece is 12.2% of this blend is 9-year-old 95.5. So that's MGP's 95.5 rye mash bill, which is, of course, 95% rye and 5% malted barley. Then there's 4.4% of the blend is 9-year-old rye corn MGP mash bill. That's 81% corn, 15% rye, 4% malted barley. And finally, my God, I don't know if I'm going to finish this. Can I get it? It's 23.7% of this blend is the 10-year-old MGP light whiskey, which is 99% corn, 1% malted barley. So that is a massive blend. Oh, my God, I need a break. Thank you. Standing ovation.
First off, I really enjoy the fact they have all these 0.2 percentages.
That's true.
I mean, they couldn't just do with the 0.0.
Well, actually, some of those are, I actually had to average them together because they're different ages. You know what I just remembered right now when you mentioned that? I forgot to mention what the MSRP of this is.
Oh, please tell me.
It's $75,
okay.
But because people have been waiting for OKI to come back out, most of the stores took advantage of that. Not a lot of advantage, but when it released here in Lexington, we saw it anywhere from $80 to $100 at different stores.
Okay. It's a big swing.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, the bottle looks like the original OKI bottle.
It does.
Yeah. It's a little bit, the label's larger, and it seems like it's been updated as far as a nice looking label with a background picture, and just looks pretty nice. It's got big batch 1 on the bottom, but looking at the back, it looks like a nutrition label. It's got all these like lines and graphs and percentages.
You will get 26.5% of this mash bill.
Oh, is there fiber in this thing?
There might be fiber. Is that picture on the front of it? Is that is that Cincinnati? Is that the
steamboat?
Yeah.
What's it called?
I can't remember. I know it's coming. This is terrible. I go to Cincinnati all the time. I go to Newport all the time, and I can't remember anything about it. Is it called
the Bell, or that's Louisville?
Is it the Bell?
Or that's Louisville?
I'm not sure. It might be the Bell, but I don't even remember the names of the bridges. Is that the Ohio River?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the Ohio River?
I don't know how far I could go today with my lack of knowledge.
Gosh.
Oh, man. But you're right. This does look like the original OKI bottle. It does look more modern and updated, though, and I don't remember the gold accents being so prominent.
No.
But the colors are a little more muted. They were a little bit stronger, I feel like, when they used to. And the bottle was a little bit taller and thinner, right? The original OKI.
I've only seen them in pictures. I don't know if I ever saw one in person. I just remember this generic bottle shape, basically.
Yeah. It might be.
It's a pretty basic bottle.
It could be the exact same thing. I wouldn't know. But
I mean, it's not going to catch your eye, really, on the shelf. It's
not
a pretty
at all.
standard cylindrical shaped bottle.
I agree. Definitely not going to catch your eye on the shelf.
So, Anthony, do you remember what OKI stood for back in the day?
I do, and not just because I'm looking at the bottle. I just remember that it was Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana.
That's original, isn't it?
I mean, I remember, the first time I saw it on the shelf, full disclosure, it was like when I was kind of just getting serious about bourbon, but it was at the end of their run. So it was like 15, 16. And I think their run ended, the original OKI's run ended around, I think, 2018. And so I would see it on the shelf and I'd be like, who's going to buy that? Nobody's going to buy that.
Yeah.
And it did sit on the shelf.
Yeah.
It sat quite hard for quite a long time because people didn't really want source products. They weren't, some people were high on MGP, but some weren't. But the OKI itself, do you remember what that stood for or why it said what it did?
Well,
what it stood for?
So, OKI, Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana.
Yes.
And so each one of the processes, I think, was done in each state originally.
So
Indiana was obviously, because it's MGP, was obviously the distilled
in Indiana.
I think it was, what was it, bottled in Ohio and enjoyed in Kentucky, or
bottled in Kentucky and loved in Ohio. That's what it was on the original label. Yeah, gosh, man, that's a trip down memory lane. That's what it said, but now they've replaced that on the back. It doesn't say that same slogan. I don't know if that was part of it, but it says that the reason why this is OKI is because 95% of all the world's bourbon supply are produced in the tri-state area.
Oh, tri-state.
The tri-state area, not the one that you guys are thinking of, but the Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana. Yeah. The tri-state that nobody thinks about. Nobody thinks about, or don't sugarcoat it. That people aren't thinking they want to live in that tri-state area versus the other one.
I would say the only experience I had with OKI is that I think that was Michael's first bottle he flipped.
Oh, really?
It was either first or like really early on.
Really early on.
I remember he got it and he got rid of it right away.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's because the old OKI was originally, I mean, let's just talk quickly. That brand, the OKI brand, was started by the guy that owned Party Source when he started New Riff, basically, when he started OKI, and it's kind of overlapped there. But they had bought a bajillion barrels of old MGP bourbon. They had the foresight to do that way back when. And they just started bottling it, anywhere from like 10 to 12-year-old stuff. They were doing some cask finishes and all this stuff. They had a very cult and very dedicated following, and people started to realize this product from 10 to 12-year-old MGP product was amazing. And so if you're telling me Michael was one of his first flips, it doesn't surprise me, because there was a time where OKI went from sitting on the shelf to being one of the most desirable MGP bottles. And they still do fetch a ton of money on the secondary market now because they're discontinued, of course. But yeah, they definitely had the last laugh there. I'm the moron that was walking through like, oh yeah, we're gonna buy this. But yeah, I had my fair share of the bottles toward the end and everything else. So it went away. When New Riff started, they just focused on New Riff solely, and they kind of phased out OKI. They said, we're done. The last batches are going out. Everybody scrambled to get them. And then it sat dormant until recently. And this started off with single barrel offerings first. They were bottling like 6 and 7 year old single barrels. And then this is the first, I think, mainstream release they've done that actually had decently wide distribution. When I say decently wide, like at least in Kentucky.
Tri-state area.
Yeah. I was going to say at least in Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana. And it was met with a lot of fanfare because people, there's people just getting into bourbon now. They're like, OKI, yeah, like I've heard of that. They don't realize this is not the same OKI that was from back in 2014. Right.
The color is looks very delicious.
Oh, the color of the bourbon, yeah. It looks nice in the bottle.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I can't wait to go in for it.
Should we go for it?
Let's go for our notes.
Let's go for it. I mean, nothing unpleasing on the nose.
Got some good char wood.
Yeah, definitely picking up the char and oak. And I'm surprised because even though there's some good age on this, whenever anything has light whiskey in it, I've mentioned this before, I usually expect to smell campfire, and I don't smell any campfire, which is good. Because I don't like campfire smelling whiskey. I'm sorry, I don't. Got kind of a sweet and spicy nose. I'm trying to pick up some of the actual...
You get a brownie out of this?
A little bit of chocolate.
Yeah.
A little chocolate on the nose.
I mean, not really chocolate. Getting some dessert.
You're getting, I think, like I guess I can settle in like a baked good. Yeah. And when I say a baked good, like a sweet baked good, not like just, some bread or something. We're talking about like a
dessert or
like a tasty
pastry or something.
A tasty scone with some frosting on it or something, Very British of me. I don't know where that comes from. I have no British influence in my life, except for I really like Oasis, the band. Maybe that's where it came from. No,
there's no ethanol.
No ethanol. I mean,
doesn't burn.
A little bit of
there's a lot. You can tell there's some depth to it.
depth, yeah.
Yeah.
Little,
I'm getting a lot of wood out of this, like a little char, which is very enjoyable. Maybe a little marshmallow.
yeah, a little
soda. Yeah,
not distinctive, but it's sweet, and there's not a lot of ethanol or astringency on the nose, which is nice because I wasn't really sure. Even at 100 proof, sometimes these things still singe your nose out, and this is nice. The color is good, like you said. I like the lacing, and the legs are good. So if you take your glass and you spin it, if you're ever interested in tasting or you start doing this kind of stuff at home, you can usually tell the age of a whiskey by how much it sticks to the glass. And so if the legs fall off quickly, it's usually indicative of a younger bourbon. But this one, getting kind of good separation, and the legs are coming down very slowly. And so I think that signifies that age is what we're seeing there. So I'm getting kind of excited here to taste this because I'm going to jokingly say here, we've had 100 episodes of MGP.
Yeah, right.
But if you're tasting a lot of different types of bourbon and knowing that a lot of people are sourcing MGP product, it's inevitable, guys. You're going to run across many different products that might have different labels and different names, but they're going to be sourced from different mash bills at MGP.
You're back. This tastes familiar.
Yeah. Why does this one taste like? Well, of course. And so that's why I'm kind of excited, but also kind of like, I was thinking, other than ones that we've tasted on the podcast, you ever had any OG OKI or?
I'm not.
Okay. Well, I have, and that bar is pretty high. Like I've had the Smooth Ambler, MGP, old Scout stuff. I've had the OKI stuff. Had some of the aged Bell Mead that came from, the 12 and 13-year-old stuff from MGP. So there's always a high bar in my mind, which is why I think it's unfair sometimes when I demonize some of these people that are just bottling for your MGP.
Yeah.
So this one's got me excited because, I don't know, I think that MGP is a flooded market. Like everyone's bottling MGP product, but OKI has got that brand clout. And I don't know, I'm excited. What are you thinking?
Well, I'm thinking with all these blends, they blend as well. I'm curious to see, if it's balanced.
Yeah, me too.
It's heavy wood. I wonder how that comes through the palate.
Absolutely. That's my biggest worry because, I gave the general percentages and mash bills, but if you look at this, there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It looks like 7 distinct forms of distillate that are blended together and then barreled in this.
Yeah.
So when I jokingly said the kitchen sink at MGP, it is the kitchen sink.
Yeah.
I don't know if
barreled and double barreled, right?
It says on the label here that it's double barreled.
Yeah.
So it's blended, then double barreled. So it must mean that they blended it, I would say, in a tote, and then they barreled it again.
Right.
Which is very interesting.
Yeah. It's just like when you get too high, for me, when you get too high in that age of bourbon, you start getting too much wood, and it just puts me off usually.
I think, do you have an age that you think is your cap? Like, where does it get too oaky typically for you? I'm not saying like for everything you ever try. It's obviously everything's different.
I would say probably in the late teens.
So,
I've had stuff that's like, it's like 13 or 14 that I'm like, gosh, there's a lot of wood. Or I've had stuff that's in the 18. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. It's somewhere in the mid to late teens. Definitely when you start hitting the 20s.
Oh, yeah. I agree with you 100%. I actually think that like the sweet spot for me is probably 8 to 12 years.
Yeah, that 12 is...
That 12 is seems like 12, a magical...
12, 13 range is...
Even, I won't spill too much of this because I want to do an episode on this at some point in time in the future. But, I've tasted some of the old Fitzgerald vertical, and, they have like everything from as young as 8 year to up to 17 now.
Yeah.
And still the two that stand out to me, like the 13 and the 15. But then they oddly had like an 8 that was great. And the first one I ever tried was a 9, and I hated it.
I think
it was terrible. Yeah. I was like, man, this is garbage. And now I'm like, so I don't know if they're using the same barrels for that, but when we talk about age, I think that's a really good experiment in age and how it can really change because it's all the same mash bill.
Yeah.
I don't know where they're pulling them from.
Right. Well, should we go for our first taste?
For show. Wow.
That's really pleasant.
Yeah, it is. It's remarkably balanced. So I just want to lead with this in an oddly satisfying way. This is not like most MGP things that you grab. It doesn't taste like them in a good way. In my initial sip here.
It's got a great, just overall wood taste to it. You can really taste the char from the barrels.
It's a pleasant oak flavor. Sweet.
Yeah, it's got that the sweetness from the deep char. Got some marshmallow.
Well, marshmallow. What's really interesting is everybody automatically assumes with MGP you're going to be getting a spicy whiskey because a lot of it is.
There's a little spice to it.
There is, but I think it's leading more corn.
Yeah,
and the corn sweetness is leading with the oakiness more so than anything that I've ever tried recently. Anyway, sometimes there's a harshness with MGP, especially younger. Where you're like, oof,
right.
So this is stacking up pretty nicely so far.
Do you get this on the back end? It's really interesting.
Getting something
like
interesting.
Flavor note in the back. It's like after you get the initial wood taste.
Yep.
There's something on the back end. Do you taste it?
It's something. It's almost to me like is it some kind of like a popcorn note?
I think you're right. Is it mixed with the butterscotch, like a popcorn butterscotchy?
Yeah, there's
like
butterscotch
in the background.
Yeah, it's almost like it's like kettle corn almost. It's like,
but not really sweet.
Not really sweet. I guess I'm thinking kettle corn. You said butterscotch. It's like a really
some sort of popcorn.
Something, yeah. Something reminds me of buttery, not buttery and salty like popcorn, but like how not caramel corn. Sorry, it's kettle corn. It's like got a sweet and saltiness to it.
You're eating the popcorn, and then you go to the very end where just the seeds are left.
Yeah,
the kernels. And you pick out those little flakes of white.
Oh yeah,
and you start eating those.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that flavoring mixed in with something else.
I got that. I'm vibing on that. I like that. That's really that's an astute observation.
I mean, you were definitely right with the corn, especially one of those mash bills, like 99% corn. And
well, that's the thing. The light whiskey. Listen, I've drank enough aged light whiskey and stuff like that to tell you that if that's wrong, it does not taste good. I don't care what anybody says. It tastes like straight fire. And this is like, with so much of the blend, almost 20% of it being light whiskey, I assumed that this was going to be very unbalanced, hot, weird. Instead, I'm pleasantly surprised.
The back end, I'd say the finish is short but sweet.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I don't think it doesn't linger too long.
That's the only place I get a little bit of rye spice is on the finish,
back end.
like just a tiny bit.
Yeah.
But it's a super pleasant sip. Like I'm
digging this.
Yeah,
it's really good.
This is I hate to say it, but this could be one of those nights where there could be more pours of this afterward. And the next time we'll tell you about, we had too much of that bottle. You can tell from whatever the picture is going to look like.
I'll have to do some picture magic.
There you go. This is a fresh crack. So
definitely, that's right. It's a fresh crack. And
so all the people,
this has been good.
Yeah, all the people that are like, neck pour needs to open up. I mean, this is pretty pleasant right out of the gate. It wouldn't say it's got like a great mouthfeel. It's a little thin.
I agree.
But I mean, I thought Remus was thin too, and people were like, "Oh yeah, Remus is great." Like Remus was the greatest. Actually, that's the closest thing you come to this. We did the Remus way back when. That was a big MGP blend.
Yeah,
but that's done by MGP, and I think we enjoyed that. Actually, you know what? I don't think I enjoyed that. I like this. I think more than I liked Remus.
Oh yeah, I thought Remus was okay.
Yeah, I didn't think Remus was that great compared to this. So that's probably a controversial statement to the really hardcore bourbon people, but that's okay. I'll own it.
That's fine.
Own it.
So Anthony, would you pass, try, or buy on the OKI Reserved Blended Bourbon Whiskey?
Do I actually get to go first, or are you going to take it back today?
Nope, you can go.
Okay, all right. I am actually going to be a buy, and I didn't want to be a buy. And I wasn't planning on being a buy. I actually thought based on, a buddy early review, somebody I saw got to try it like the day it came out.
Yeah.
I sent him a message and said, "Hey man, what do you think of that? I've got a bottle I'm going to buy." Like I called to reserve the bottle, and he said, "It's kind of weird. I can't really put my finger on it. It kind of tastes like a bunch of different things. It's a little thin." Then he said, "It's a solid drinker. I'd give it like an 80 out of 100. And I was like, okay, but I was still intrigued to try it. And I think that the reason why he probably said that is because that was probably just a small pour that he got. And I think this is one that's going to develop the more you sip on it.
Yeah, right.
And I think I'm so used to first releases from bourbon companies, old or new or resurgent, being crappy that I'm just maybe I'm pleasantly surprised with this one.
It's batch one. It actually tastes good.
Yeah, batch one. It tastes good. So I'm a buy. How about you, sir?
Well, I'm not really sure. I'm thinking of going one way, but
and he is pouring another pour.
I might have to pass on this. No.
You had me fooled for a minute. You got a good poker face. I was like, what is this guy doing?
This will be a good buy. Yeah. I like this a lot. I had a lot of the wood char smell that I love so much.
Yep.
A lot of that. It's a good noser. So price is a little high.
But when you say the price is a little high, I mean, look, did you see what Henry McKenna is selling for now?
Ugh, I'm afraid to even ask.
Henry McKenna hit Lexington last week, and all the major big box had it for $70 a bottle.
Are you kidding me?
I'm dead serious. And the actual retail price, I think, has gone up to $60 a bottle. So with that in mind, now what would you say?
Would you buy McKenna for $70?
I would not.
I'm not.
I mean, I don't want to make it about McKenna, but since they brought it up, like, I will just say that, like, no, absolutely not. I think Heaven Hill is just stupid for doing that. Excuse my language, but, like, my goodness, that's no way.
We digress.
A little bit.
Back to this. No, I really like. I guess the $75, $80. I'm not gonna. I don't know if I'll pay $100 for it, but
yeah,
$75 or $80. I mean, it's really. I mean, I've been pleasantly surprised all night with it. So
yeah,
and if you like that nice char nosing and tasting, this is right up your alley. And the corn has been really satisfying.
I know sometimes with high corn, like your Tennessee whiskeys are high corn and other things like that, and I don't usually like sometimes Knob Creek high corn as well. But this is actually good. I like it.
Yeah, I do too.
So when you mentioned pricing real quick, I was just thinking the other day if bourbon is recession proof, because obviously inflation is happening and a lot of things are costing more. And so that's going to be passed on to consumers in every particular, like every sector of the economy. Bourbon's not going to be able to escape. Maybe that's why Henry McKenna is $70 a bottle.
That's absurd.
And it's absurd. But I don't know. Do you think bourbon's recession proof?
I don't see why not.
I mean, I think at retail it's recession proof, but I don't know if it'll be
secondary.
Secondary might be, yeah. Don't fret over that though, because I know most people probably aren't trying to go buy bottles on secondary anyway. But it is what it is. Something maybe we can talk about or elaborate on in future episodes, because I think that's going to be really interesting.
I wonder how the liquor market did during other recessions.
Yeah, I don't know.
Actually, I think sales went up.
Yeah, that would make sense, right? Like, hey, I'm depressed and drink more.
Drink more.
But if your bourbon's costing $80 a bottle, you can drink something else, right?
Yeah.
So,
not McKenna.
Yeah, not McKenna.
And with that, thanks for listening to this week's edition. Please like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Mashup OKI. Also, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Until next time, keep it neat.